everyone. I'm Christina Arangio. Welcome to another episode of The Real Deal, where we break down real-life concerns with authentic conversation. Dr. Julie Morrison with HPA Live Well in Albany joining us again. Always great to have you here,
Thanks.
Julie.
Good to be here.
We were talking about managing holiday stress in our last episode.
We're going to really call that managing? No, just kidding.
We try, right? And I know we're going to talk today more about the holidays, but today we focused on this a little bit last week, and it was, this time we're talking more about holiday blues in general. Last week it was the grief piece a little bit, and we touched on that, and we're going to expand on that because holiday blues can come in different forms, and it may not be an immediate loss. You just may be down and feel sad, and so I know we're going to get into all that. But before we move ahead, we always look back to our challenge from last week with managing the stress. And I think the way you put it was simply be present, and even if it's chaotic, try to be present, right? Because that's life, right?
Yeah.
So do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
You go first.
All right. For me, this is silly, but, it was Thanksgiving Day. I always have people over. I always cook dinner. I've been doing that for years, given what I do. Sometimes you work holidays. So I work that morning. You plan as much as you can in advance. So I had done as much as I could with, sides ahead of time. And usually I feel like, I've got this. I've got this down. I mean, it's never perfect, but I feel like I've got a system. Right. This year, the system was off, like worse than usual. I'm always off. Dinner's always later than I plan. It never goes perfectly. Right. And that's life, right? I accept that.
Right.
I accept that. However, I think what I realized the difference was this year is I had a lot of cleaning to do around the house that I had not gotten to it all.
Sure.
And in previous years, it was handled and done ahead of time, right? This time, I'm like, okay, birds in the oven. I've done all these sides ahead of time. So by the time the guests are arriving, it was 7, my family, my dad, and dear friends, 2 dear friends. And I just felt like I didn't have, snacks out before. You always got to have something when people come in. Yeah. We were just talking about this, Italian in your blood. You always have to have enough food.
Right.
And so I just felt like I was constantly behind the 8 ball and that I couldn't really enjoy and chat because there was so much to do. And my girlfriend helps me a lot. I enlisted the help of my daughter, as you should, right?
Yeah,
She's 19. I was like, hey, can you empty the dishwasher for me, help me set the table? I still could not get my act together. So much so, here's my real being present moment. I just realized that I was struggling and not enjoying anything. And I just took that moment and I grabbed my daughter and my girlfriend who helps in the kitchen. And I was just like, I don't know why I'm so stressed out this year. And I grabbed them and we, the 3 of us just hugged. And my daughter right away was like, it's okay, Mom. And of course, my girlfriend was like, who cares if it's it takes extra time. We're going to eat when we eat. But I was trying to enjoy the company, look around, and don't focus so much. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so behind. Everything's going to be cold. Yeah. So that was my, in the chaos moment, be present. I tried. Was that being present? Grabbing it? All right.
God, that's absolutely fantastic.
I tried.
Well, it's funny though, because as you talk, I think when I reflect back, we traveled for Thanksgiving, which is unusual for us. We really traveled, right? We went to Europe. And so we came home and I remember coming home and normally I have everything down. Down to the thing, right?
You're organized.
Immediately to the point where my husband and I are taking care of Christmas gifts on, Cyber Monday. We're good. We're done.
Good
we're ready,
for you.
right?
Yeah.
Not even close, right? So we get home and I'm sitting and we're flying back and I got all this stuff. I've got these things and what about this? What about this? What about this? And interestingly, we couldn't put our Christmas tree up because the snow was going to come. We're like, we got to get a Christmas tree. So normally we go out, we get our Christmas tree, we put it up. It's always after Thanksgiving. We hadn't been home, right?
Yeah.
So we have been standing there looking at this Christmas tree that is bare. Because we got it before the storm came because I didn't want, we thought that was good planning. So we rush out Monday, put this tree up, and we've been staring at this Christmas tree.
There's nothing on it.
And I sit there and I'm like, what? This tree represents how ready I am for Christmas. This is not great for me. This is not reflecting positively. So last night we finally were like, we can do this tree.
Yay.
We ran out of flights.
Oh no.
And I don't fit, and I had the immediate moment of we were talking about.
Yeah.
My God, this isn't right. This wasn't the plan.
Right.
Oh my gosh, whatever. And my kids were laughing.
Right.
My husband laughing.
They took it in stride.
This is ridiculous. Who cares? Whatever. And we're ordering online and I was like, why? I got to just appreciate the fact that they're all sitting around and they're laughing and they
Yes.
don't care and it's fine. And to calm the idea of, I think pretty much all of us think that, these holidays need to be a Norman Rockwell painting,
Yeah.
right? And or in this day and age, a Frozen, Instagram post.
Or Hallmark and how the decorating goes
right.
beautifully. Yeah.
But it's never, if you look back, even on those holidays where you're like, yeah, it was so organized. I promise you there was something that was not organized.
Oh, definitely.
That was not what you were planning for.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's where I had my moment where I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah. That's
This
a great
is
one.
okay.
Right. They're laughing.
Yeah.
We're making the best of it. And once again, it's a
Right.
memory.
Right. So, I'm sort of inclined to just leave the lights halfway on and just start a new tradition.
Something tells me you're going to finish that tree. You're going to get those lights.
I'll do it while they're sleeping if that's the case.
Right.
Because really when I say I'm present, I got to get this tree out.
Right, exactly.
Let's be honest.
Present, but that was fun. But
That's
now
right.
I needs to be done.
Fun. Yeah, exactly.
No, that is a great example, though, and it's so true. All right, so we were talking about this on the air today, too. One of our scripts said, it's the most wonderful time of the year. And as soon as I read that, I thought to myself, oh, it's obviously written for me and we make changes.
Sure.
And right away, I ad-libbed. For others, it may not be, because I feel I'm even more sensitive to that now when you go through serious loss. I lost my mom 3 years ago, but it's ever present, right?
Yep.
Especially when it's a loss so close to you like that. So I am much more mindful of not being like, it's all joy and happy for everybody, because it's not. And we've addressed this a little bit, but today we're focusing a little bit more, at least in this first segment, overall holiday blues, but grief during the holidays. And just speak to us, if you would, about the heavy impact, because if it hasn't happened to you yet, you're lucky. And at some point it will, but it is quite the experience to be going through grief over the holidays.
And people who have lost, and it doesn't matter how long ago, right? The holidays are generally very difficult because it is an opportunity to remember. And sometimes some of those memories are not yes, they're positive. A lot of the things we enjoyed and the things we did together with these people. But the fact that cannot happen that way right now at this time, right? It happened differently, back then. And I miss that and I grieve that. You're not just grieving that person, you're grieving what you did with them, that joy, what the holidays meant when that person was there. But I also think it's not just grief and loss around, losing family members or friends. And I think it's also the grief of the expectations of the holiday.
Sure.
What it's supposed to be, right? You just said it's the most wonderful time of the year. How that is so much
Pressure.
right? And so
Truly,
when
truly.
somebody says that, and I'm supposed to, right? This is supposed to be this wonderful time of the year. What if, but my so-and-so isn't visiting, or I lost my job and I can't fill the tree the way I did before, or I've moved to a new town and I don't feel like I'm home for the holidays.
Yeah, and connected
Or, any of those things. I think that we have to remember grief is going to come in all sorts of forms when it comes to the holidays. And it's just, it's a time to remember. And that can really hurt a bruised heart.
Oh, absolutely. So what can we do? What are ways that we can kind of turn this? Well, you're never going to turn it completely around. Let's be honest. The void is there. And that's just 100% truth. The void is there. But there are ways that we can work to keep their memory alive or try to do something that's a little more positive. One thing that came to mind for me, and we've covered a bunch of these. I've never attended one, but they have these memorial tree lightings in many communities now. And I think we have some video of that where you have different people from the community who come together and there are a bunch of small trees and everybody decorates a tree with, let's say your mom loved, I don't know, going to the ocean.
Sure,
and so your
shells.
shells
Cool.
on the tree.
Yeah.
So something like that. And some people, enjoy that and feel like it's cathartic, right? But maybe it's something else for somebody else.
Well, I think one of the first things I would say is the first thing you can do is go into the holiday knowing it's going to be different.
Yeah.
So that's one of the hard things is that, looking to have that same feeling and looking to have those same things when it feels like, so say you always had dinner at 2:00 and you always had the same thing and you always did whatever. Well, when you do that in the exact same way in that tradition, it is going to be markedly obvious to you that that person isn't there. One of the things you might be able to do is just change it enough where it feels like you're holding on to the tradition, but changing it up a little so that the loss isn't so poignant in that moment. So one of the things that our family will do is our kids always get, and we always do, pajamas on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And I think of that as, well, we do this in this way, and my parents did that for my sister and I growing up. When I do that, when I don't have my parents anymore, that will be a hard thing for me.
Sure.
So maybe I'm going to change when that happens. Maybe I do it the same way, but I do it Christmas more. I don't know, something, where you take those things where you still have the benefit, but you change it a little.
Right. So it's not so painful. So the memory isn't that spark of like, oh, this is lost that I remember.
Or
it's okay to change it up.
Or mark the tradition by doing something on top of it. So for example, we have people who have, say they do their holiday festivities and then go outside and have a fire.
Yeah.
And everybody write down, I love this. Everybody writes down before you go out, you write down a favorite memory, a message, a something. And then you take that and you put it into the fire. And the idea being all of those messages sort of all coming together in the smoke and this like sort of symbolism of sort of all coming together in this big, batch of memories. And whether you're, someone who's religious, maybe it feels that way, or maybe it's just sort of a symbol of something profound.
Right. One of the things I've also done is photo books. I remember my sister saying, I couldn't believe you were able to do this. But for me, it was cathartic to look at all of these pictures of my mom and basically put pictures with each grandchild. And then, baptisms, communions, confirmation, but then, Christmas, Thanksgiving, different. For each child, I did some of that, and then just family gatherings in general. And I gave a book to my dad. We kept a copy. I gave one to my sister. But it was just a way to try to do something positive. She couldn't even look at it that holiday. And I said, that's okay, because everybody's different, right?
That's important to recognize, right? So that was cathartic for you.
Right, but for her.
Maybe that didn't work for her, right? So we want to do our thing.
Yeah.
And think about, so if you're going to change, but the other thing, right, we said we can sort of change traditions a little. Make sure the other people who enjoy those traditions or part of it are also okay with changing up their tradition.
Yes.
And I think that's the biggest thing with holidays is it's so tradition based that it feels so remarkable and so obvious when someone is missing.
Yeah, it was interesting because I remember thinking the last thing I want to do is make it worse. She was really touched and she said, I am going to enjoy looking at this. I just can't do it yet. And I said, I completely understand.
Yeah.
Or photos, I've done that a lot too for the tree. You lose even a pet or something and you get a little photo and that's just a nice memory every year when you put it on. For me, it's different for everybody. What about battling or really dealing with the blues beyond grief? Because it comes in different forms. Sometimes it's just loneliness in general. Maybe you didn't lose a partner or maybe your partner's been gone for a long time. Maybe you're, away, you're serving our country. Just how do you deal with the holiday blues in general? Because this is very common beyond grief, right? Beyond grief aside.
Yeah, and I think, people who struggle with holiday blues, so to speak, are probably also struggling with some depression, anxiety, other things that sort of, and it doesn't mean that it's a requirement for the blues. I think what we're really talking about is it's profound again because there's so much out there about the holidays. I mean, you can watch TV and all the ads, right? You can listen to the radio, all the ads.
How about social media?
You see social media, you see the storefronts, you see all those things. And so if you're not feeling in the mood, festive, it feels like you're wrong. And I think that that's the piece. And then that kind of makes it worse and makes it worse. And you feel a little like, well, why can't I get into the holiday spirit?
Right, what's wrong with me? I'm seeing all these decorations. I should be happy. I'm hearing the music. I feel sad.
Well, and then we also want to remember that, many of us are reflecting back, wow, the holidays are such a great time. Maybe they're not for everybody. Maybe growing up it wasn't so great.
Or you lost someone right before the holiday.
Absolutely. And so I think giving people some space to have the feelings that they have, and to remind people that however you feel about the holidays that comes and goes or whatever, that's okay.
Yeah.
I think what we want to be mindful of is when it gets really low. Right. And I think we want to, that's a reminder all the time, is that, someone who feels low and then you feel worse on the holidays, you want to pay attention to that, because it feels like you're more vulnerable to sort of those darker thoughts and that negative thinking, in the sense that puts you at risk.
How do you know when you need to reach out for help?
I think that, when you spend most of your days versus not, feeling low, difficulty getting out of bed, not doing the things that you otherwise would be doing or enjoying, feeling like you're so emotional that you can't get to work or school and things like that, isolating yourself from other people, and having these negative thoughts of, hopelessness and helplessness. Those are the times we want to talk. And if you feel like, gosh, man, you can't call any, behavioral health practice at this point without saying, hey, there's a wait list, go to your primary care doctor. Talk to them. They are a great first line of defense in terms of just saying, like, I'm really struggling right now.
That's a really good point.
Because they can help evaluate, like, how bad is this? Is this a 10 out of 10? Is this a 3 out of 10?
Yeah.
What is this really looking like?
Right, because so many times people think like, oh, well, geez, I'd love to talk to someone professionally, but, unfortunately, there's such a great need that sometimes, like you said, you can't get in right away. Right. But you're not out of options. And
go
see your
difference,
doctor.
Right? Like, some people will say, well, it's just it's the winter, it's the cold weather,
right?
It's
Seasonal
whatever.
affective disorder. And
if it's all the time, then it's important to take notice.
Right. No, that's a really good point. There's a lot more we want to chat about. How we can beat the holiday blues as best we can, right? We know it's okay if you're in that moment, right? Unless it's at the point where you think you need some professional help, then go ahead and try to get that help, like Julie said. But let's talk about that coming up after a quick break here on some of the things we can do that kind of takes the focus off ourself and misery for some people.
Absolutely.
Right? So stay tuned. We'll be back with more from The Real Deal coming up. We are talking about the holiday blues today, a real concern for so many people, not an easy time, as we've been sharing, for a lot of folks. But there are things that I think we can do to try to get out of a rut. And again, there's two pieces here, right? or two sides of this. One is just you're a little down. The other is maybe you need some help, and that's okay. Get that help and support. But if you're just a little down and you're thinking, I think so often we get a little too focused on the shopping and the presents and the consumerism and the doing. But you need to add a little bit of that do for others, right? It's supposed to be about giving over the holidays.
Right.
So that to me, and I know we've talked about it before, volunteering would be, and it doesn't have to be something you're doing every week or every day.
Right. So, what we know is that when you can give back to your community, when you can do for others, when you can do something with someone, when there's action versus buying, that kind of thing, you kind of fill your bucket. And that can actually change your mood. Because, a lot of those blues feel like I'm doing everything and I'm doing nothing all at the same time. Yeah. What feels measurable? What feels like you're contributing? And so one of the things that's a really great way to do it is to volunteer. Mm-hmm. A lot of the things that we're doing in that sense is you're taking the focus off yourself.
Yep.
And it's a really great opportunity not only to do for others, but then also you see yourself as someone who can give back. So there's a pride in that, right? It's something that I'm not just bogged down with what am I, buying for my kids, or does this look the same? What does this do? What's this holiday going to be for me?
Do they really even need something else anyway?
Right. And what am I teaching them and all these things?
Yeah.
But rather, what are we able to do for other people? It actually fills your bucket up, right? And you start to feel more positive. And that helps really with that ability to then be in a positive framework where you're able to show some gratitude, right? We talked a little bit last time, I think, about positive psychology, right? Where not focusing on the bad or what's missing or how the traditions have changed or all of the chores and the lists of things you have to do, but rather focusing on at least 3 positive things that are going well or that are positive around this day at this time.
Yeah.
That is the most profound thing we can do, where we're able to even say, I'm grateful for that. I might be freezing and I might have so much to do, but my gratitude is I'm so grateful that I have kids to buy for. I'm so grateful that I have a coat to wear because it's freezing outside.
A roof over your head if you're
And,
fortunate.
you could say, I don't want to go to work today, but I'm grateful I have a job.
Yes.
And it's okay that you have those 2 dynamics, right? You don't have to be upset with yourself that, I felt negatively. That's okay. If you balance it on the other end, they neutralize.
Right. And it's also being human, right? It's very normal to feel, oh my gosh, this is awful. And then you catch yourself, right? How many times do you catch yourself going, I can't believe I'm worried. I know we've had some tough stories in this, we always do. And something's bothering you that seems like at the moment, like, oh God, the fireplace. Oh, I love the fireplace. It's so nice during the holidays and it's cold. Now it would be great to have it. And I catch myself like, okay, someone is, without their loved one right now after a tragic accident. What am I doing? And I remind myself, sometimes you can be hard on yourself, but in a way, I think you do need to have that reality check. Like, look at how lucky you are.
And even one more step. And what could I do for them?
Yeah.
What could I do there?
What can I do?
Right? So when you sit there and you're like, man, I feel blessed.
Yes.
Great. Now, one more step. How do I give back? Right? I'm now coming from a position where I feel gratitude.
Yes.
How do I now give back? And I think that that's really where it's a full circle moment that helps protect against those blues. And it holds on to the fact that it's not just about the turkey in the oven or the presents under the tree or whether you have enough strands of lights. Right? The goal is, what is this holiday season supposed to mean for you? It was successful if.
Yes.
It was positive if, and go get that. And I think that would even be my challenge for people.
Yeah.
Is take a minute and think about, this was a fulfilling holiday if.
Yeah.
If what?
Right.
Because I
What
think
did
we
you do
have to
for
get our
someone
arms
else?
around that a little bit.
Yeah.
What are you able to, what is it about for you? Define what the season means.
Yeah.
And there's going to be busyness because there's stuff.
Yeah.
But what is the overarching meaning that you want to be able to take away from this holiday season? Because all of a sudden, it's going to be January.
Oh, yeah. And one of the things, when we talk about trying to do for others, and like you said, it's better like an experience. And I think we've had some video up of, there are people that can be, volunteering in the food pantry. They're making meals for someone else. And that feels great when you're able to do something like that. If you feel like life is crazy or you don't have that opportunity, like even for us, we have the giving tree at church.
Sure, exactly.
And I'm doing it with the kids. And obviously my daughter's at school, but, with my son. And we take the tag and we find this person is really in need of a basketball, something as simple. They love sports.
Yes.
We can go to Target together and get a basketball, and then we're going to bring it to the church, and then we're going to drop it off at the tree. Even that little gesture, because we're setting an example too. It's not just that it does make me feel good that you're helping someone else, but I want to make sure that I'm also doing it in front of my kids because I want them to do the same.
And one more step, it doesn't have to be buying something.
Right,
What
that's
if
the piece
for the
that's hard.
remainder of the holiday season, you see somebody at the grocery store and you put their cart back for them.
Right.
If you let someone go ahead of you, if you say good morning to someone,
Smile
or hold
at
the
someone.
door, see what you can do between now and then. What does this holiday season mean for you?
Yeah.
And how are you able to do that without money, without buying something?
Yep.
Just doing.
Having a conversation. Maybe there's someone by themselves and they seem open to talking.
Yeah.
And you take that opportunity. Sometimes for me, just the simplest thing, but I think it means so much. I was thinking about this on driving in today. Just the words Merry Christmas. I know it can be really hard for others, but when somebody extends it to you and you give it back, there's such a, there's such a warmth there. There's so much behind it. And again, you have to pick your moments. If it's somebody that doesn't feel like they're enjoying the holiday, you're not going to say Merry Christmas. But if you're having a nice conversation and maybe you're talking about something at the store and somehow the holidays come up, Merry Christmas.
You know, it was crazy. My daughter had an injury from sports the other day, and we ended up door dashing, which means it was 10 times the price, but door dashing from a drugstore for first aid stuff. And the woman ran up. It's freezing cold out, which is why I didn't go out. Brought it up to the door. I went out and I said to her, I was like, thank you so much. Happy holidays. And she was shocked. She was like,
you made her day.
Thank you. But the point being, we rush.
I know.
And it's, okay, I couldn't even get out to get gauze for my daughter. I needed someone to bring it to me.
Right.
Slow down.
Right.
Take a minute. And this person, and I even said to her, I'm like, you have no idea. You just saved me. Happy holidays.
And you made her feel better.
She felt, and she did. She saved me. So that's what we can do. It's the words.
All right. No, it was such a good conversation as usual. And hopefully you took away something positive from this and what can be a tough time. And we're going to have much more coming up in future episodes. So we really appreciate you being with us. Thank you, Julie, as always, for all your insight. And that's all we have today for The Real Deal. We'll see you next week.